I think this might be the wokest episode ever.
No, I'm doing that. That's my bit to talk about. I can't wait to talk about how woke it is. We should do the intro.
Oh, okay.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the O7 podcast, the show that looks exclusively at the films from 2007, because it turns out quite a lot of really good films came out that year. Also some okay ones, and we look at them all. I'm Lucy Alfred, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tate Mawson. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you, mate. We've got a bit of mission creep, haven't we? Because the original idea of this podcast was to celebrate all the amazing films that came out in 2007. We've become less discerning and accepting of things that maybe should be cast aside. But anyway, let's talk about Ratatouille, a 2007 American animated comedy film.
Which is none of those things. It's actually brilliant.
Is it though?
Oh my gosh, it is. It is. And I was talking about this with my BF about how recently I've been doing a lot of growth.
Deeply uncomfortable talking about growth. Tell me about your growth this week. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Carry on.
Yes, like fucking let me speak, yeah? Yeah, so Ratatouille was a film that I just didn't fancy at the time and didn't think I'd enjoy and thought it looked a bit rubbish. And I don't really understand why, because I love Disney films and I love food. So I don't really know why I decided I didn't like this film. So, you know, all in the name of growth, being able to admit that sometimes you're wrong or you've had the wrong opinion, you formed a wrong opinion of something or someone and haven't given it a chance. And that kind of fits into the themes of Ratatouille, maybe the most woke Disney film ever.
Ratatouille is an animated Pixar feature about I just think this is the dumbest concept ever, right? This is like such a low-hanging fruit. The idea that a rat, well, I think rats' sense of smell is generally pretty good, right? But one rat in particular, called Remy, has a sense of smell that's so amazing that it automatically qualifies him to have an interest in cooking and then become like an expert chef just by watching TV programs.
He read a book.
And possibly reading a book by a former chef called Gusteau.
Yeah, Gusteau. Say it properly, Gusteau.
Don't start with the French accents. We'll get there. It's an animation about a rat called Remy. He's got an amazing sense of smell. He's inspired to become a cook. As luck would have it, he's quite close to Paris. When he gets separated from all of his rat family, he ends up taking refuge in a restaurant kitchen of the late Gusteau, who he idolizes over his creed that anyone can cook. So Remy wants to become a chef, but he's a rat. You can see the problems here, right?
Yeah, but as luck would have it, he finds an unassuming piece of spaghetti called linguine.
The most spaghettified man ever, isn't he? He's like he's falling into a black hole.
He's so spaghettified.
He was born spaghettified.
He really was. He is that era of CGI that my brother and I call Bendy Spider-Man, because like early Spider-Man, when they cut to the CGI of him like jumping through buildings, his body would bend like inhumanly and he would be like too flexible. And he looked animated.
Yeah, he's got no bones.
Got no bones. Yeah. So you've got what's Linguini's first name? Do we even know?
Yeah, we do. It's Alfred.
Is it Alfred? Is it?
Yeah, it is Alfred.
Well, in my notes, I've just got Linguini, played by Lou Romano. But yeah, Alfred Linguini. Lol.
Yeah, he's got no bones, but maybe they should have made that more of a plot point, right? That the reason why he's so manipulatable by just pulling his hair, which is how Remy controls him in the kitchen, is because he's got like, I don't know, bendy bones that makes him just very malleable, easy to coordinate. Yeah, it's a hell of a cast in this film. Hats off to Pixar for being out of the gate early in terms of representation and getting the finest French actors to appear in this film. Oh, wait, hang on a second. No, Lucy, why don't you tell us about the actual cast?
None of them were. So Remy was just had an American accent. He was voiced by Patton Oswalt, who has been in lots of films, but also call back to the last episode of the podcast. He was the voice of Matthew, the crow raven in The Sandman. But he's been in loads of stuff. He's kind of always plays the kind of like awkward, kind of geeky guy. Then we had Lou Romano, played Linguini. Ian Holm, who was the short-tempered head chef.
Yeah, the Frenchiest French. Yep.
If you don't know, he was Bilbo Baggins. He played Bilbo Baggins. And he was also in The Borrowers, the 90s TV family series, which I loved as a child. I don't know if you remember that, but it was great. He clearly likes to play short people.
I think he is short.
He is short. Oh, he's dead now. He's he passed. But yeah, his accent was wild. Great, really great, but like very silly. And I love how they hammed up Skinner like when he was in disguise and he was just like the stereotypical French spy with his like Mac and a black beret and sunglasses. Absolutely perfection.
Just like speechless at the lengths of authenticity that they went to in order to portray these French characters.
Well, actually, interestingly, apparently it was very well received in France.
I can explain why.
But why? Because it was about food.
I've overworked, right? I've overworked this because I did wonder if this film would be offensive to French people. And half of my family are French, so I went and asked around and was put in touch with a girl who knows my aunt who still lives in France called Anna. And I asked her about whether or not French people generally would be offended by a film that is set in France and features kind of French things like good food, but was voiced by an Italian American cast doing French accents. Anna said, "You need to know that French people are very fond of their dubbing. We consider our voice actors very talented. We watch many movies dubbed in French, especially cartoons, because one, it's not like you want to hear the real actors' voices anyway. The characters are dubbed drawings, so we might as well watch the French version. And two, children might watch them and they can't understand it. They can't understand English or read the subtitles. So the odds you'll find a French person annoyed about the English version of Ratatouille are quite small, as the majority of us don't even watch it. Usually, when I hear bad French accents or bad French done by Americans in American movies, sure, I get a little annoyed, especially when it is greatly and expensively produced movies, because I don't understand why they couldn't just hire French actors or at least a French teacher or counsellor to give a little more realism to the movie. But when it comes to Ratatouille, I won't complain about the realism of the movie because it's not a realistic depiction of French culture or Paris. It's not a realistic movie, as rats don't talk and cook. Ratatouille features French people voiced by Americans because Ratatouille is France for Americans. Yeah, so I'm the woke of the day. Woe is me. Boo.
Woke is me.
How far off the beaten track have we gotten?
We are quite far off the beaten track. I was midway through talking about the voice actors. We were just talking about Ian Holm playing Skinner, the short-tempered chef.
Yep.
Then we had Will Arnett, which I did not realise he had voiced a character in this film. He voiced Horst, the intimidating sous chef. And then, these are fun, Peter O'Toole is Anton Ego, the feared food critic. Excellent casting there. He doesn't do a French accent. He's too cool, Peter O'Toole. He just does English because he's the baddie as well. He's like one of two baddies. And another one of note, John Ratzenberger, he voiced Mustafa the waiter, and he has been in every Pixar film.
The other amazing thing about John Ratzenberger is that he is known for doing all of his stuff in like a single day, like just one. They call him like one take John or something like that because he's that good.
That's it. There's loads of others, but they were the ones I thought would be like the main ones that'd be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, Lucy, will you finish talking about the plot, please?
Absolutely. So as we were talking about, Remy the rat realises he can control Linguini the man by pulling his hair, and different tufts of hair move different arms. And later we discover he can move his whole body by pulling his hair. You've got to suspend your disbelief, kids. It just is. And through learning how to manipulate his body, Linguini becomes an incredible chef, and the once lustrous restaurant that had faded away starts to pick back up again. But meanwhile, the little annoying chef Skinner, who wants to take over the restaurant, finds out that Linguini is possibly, and then later finds out is definitely, the sole heir to Gusto's restaurant. And he becomes obsessed with trying to work out how Linguini is suddenly really good, because he's kind of, an ineffective, bendy, wet lettuce kind of guy. And he becomes obsessed with there being some link to the rat. And through lots of different little scenes where he thinks he sees the rat, and then, Linguini pretends that he's like looking for his keys or whatever. So that kind of, it's pretty funny. It's a bit like cat and mouse. So yeah, the plot moves along nicely with that. There's a little bit of romance between Linguini and one of the chefs, who's called Colette, who sort of...
Janine Garofalo.
Yes, we didn't name her. The only woman in the whole film. Only female voice in the whole film. Isn't that bad?
Well, they made a point about that, didn't they? And Janine Garofalo is like a very forthright person. I wonder if she interjected into characters and the fact that her character is the only female. There's a bit where Colette talks about the fact that she's the only woman in the kitchen, and there are reasons, because she's bloody good. I
mean, she definitely does, but there's not even any female rats. Where's Mummy Rat? There's just Daddy Rat. There's no female friends.
Yeah.
There's no female rats.
Yeah.
And with the amount of rats that there were there needed to be some mummy rats.
I hadn't thought about that.
Do you know what I loved about this is that there was no human animal communication outside of looks and nods. When Remy is talking, Linguini just hears loads of squeaks. I like that. I think that was good.
Yeah.
I think that they drew the line at Remy and Linguini being able to actually converse. Because everything else is really believable, but that would be too much. That would be a step too far. I also really loved the depiction of food and the kitchen itself. It was super accurate. It turns out that the creators spent time in a working kitchen. They created the dishes. They even got a top chef to, I think, Thomas Keller, to create the refined version of Ratatouille that is featured towards the end of the film. And then they took photos of that and all the other food and then recreated it digitally. So they wanted to make it look really accurate. So that's why it looks super delicious when they're spreading the sauces. They also spent a lot of time making sure that the steam moved in the correct way, and the spices, you kind of almost forget that you're watching an animation when you're in those scenes, and you're not seeing a rat pulling a man's hair to animate him. But yeah, I thought that was beautiful. It made me really hungry, and reminded me a lot of The Bear, the other Disney series. But yeah, loved that. I thought that was excellent. I'm a foodie myself, so I found that super interesting, and they're very accurate with the roles of each different person in the kitchen, and the roles that they play, and the types of foods that they're all responsible for. So it's a lot. I loved this film. I really enjoyed it. I'm sad I hadn't watched it before, and will be adding it to my repertoire of little films to watch in the background.
There were bits that I liked in particular. Everyone bangs on about the critic bit. We've been on a bit of a tear lately about vampires in our episodes, and I love the fact that the critic, Anton Ego, played by Peter O'Toole, is basically Dracula. It's like one of his rooms is shaped like a coffin.
So good.
Yeah, really funny. And he's so tall and sort of angular.
Yeah, he looks like Nosferatu with his long spindly fingers and angular face. Yeah, he's brilliant.
There were loads of really lovely touches in this. Everyone, as I was saying, everyone bangs on about the moment of the food being so good that it kind of unlocks a childhood memory for him. And that's the turning point for that character, is that he becomes hugely enamored with the food coming out of this restaurant. Whereas previously he'd written really crappy reviews for it, and I think that had kind of contributed to its sort of decline. So that's a great moment. I love the fact there's a little Scorsese reference at the start, little nod to Scorsese films where Remy is freeze frame jumping out of a window and doing a little bit of narration. Nicely done.
I thought that was very classy as well. I didn't necessarily link it to Scorsese, but I did think, wow, this is unlike a lot of Disney animated films. So
yeah, I mean, much like a lot of Pixar stuff, it looks incredible. There's so much, like, I always say this about freaking technical aspects, but like, this is so gorgeous to look at, and some of the movement in it and the sequences are crazy. Thinking about how they're put together. There's a shot early on that really made me sit up and sort of take more notice, which was when all the rats have been driven out of their little fortification in some old lady's cottage, and they all have to like disappear down the drains, and Remy gets separated from them, and he's just kind of floating along on a bottle or something, and that shot looks incredible. There's the water and the reflections of the water on the kind of the storm drain ceiling, and there's little like mist floating up from the water. All the shading on it is just incredible, and like it only gets better from there. So while I think the story and I became obsessed with how stupidly Frenchified it was. That while that stuff was like a bit of an eye roll for me, like this is so visually lovely.
yeah,
that kind of papers over that.
Yeah, I'm always impressed with the latest innovations in animation. I remember when I saw Moana, and I couldn't believe how amazing the hair movement was, and the way that the water moved in that. You know, if you compare the water in Moana to the water in this, you can see how it's advanced. But they actually designed some special software for Ratatouille, because there was going to be lots of scenes of the rats with wet fur, and they hadn't been able to do that accurately. So they actually, designed some software that did more lifelike wet fur. So if you remember the scene where, obviously there's the scene where they're like the scene you're talking about, but there's also the scene much later on in the film where the rats help Remy in the kitchen, and to clean them he puts them in pot wash, and they come out all like fuzzy and fluffy and damp. It's very cute. And they did look like little damp rats,
which is more cleaning than Remy does himself, I noticed, because he just washes his hands.
Yeah, but he's been out of the ratty loop, hasn't he? He's been living amongst humans, so...
Oh, okay, so he's showering every day.
He's showering every day, yeah. He's got his own little bedroom that overlooks the Eiffel Tower.
Not a bathroom, though.
Not that we saw. They might have cut that scene out.
And this is your toilet, not the whole floor.
Should we talk about the themes, Tay?
Yeah, okay. So this is an animation, presumably for children, and accompanying adults. But what I got from it was a strong sense of like having this felt like an early "it's okay to be a nerd about things" film. Like, encourage your interests, nurture your interests. Strive to be a thing, even if you're not an obvious fit.
I couldn't get away from the wokeness of it, because there's a whole theme and storyline of the rats hiding away from people because they're scared of people, because they have a perception that people will just try and attack them, because that's what they've experienced. And Remy, he sort of decides that he wants to be the change that he wants to see. And so, because he finds an affinity, right? And then, he infiltrates the human world. He learns more about it. He forms a relationship with a human, and they have this lovely symbiotic relationship. And it's only later when he reunites with his family, and his dad tries to warn him off spending time with humans and takes him to that shop that sells rat poison. There's all the dead rats hanging up, and it just reminded me of like seeing lynched people, right? Like, it kind of does feed into the conversation of, fear of the other on both sides, and we keep ourselves separate, but actually well, we don't really, but you know what I mean? The ideas, we keep the ideas separate, but actually it takes a few people on both sides to learn about each other and work together to create change. And I really honestly think that was like very obvious. I'm it's got to have been deliberate. Obviously that was where I went with it, but like it could be anything. It's just like one or the other, the binary basically, and the problem of the binary in all areas of life. So yeah, I actually think that maybe Ratatouille is the most woke Pixar film.
Oh, let's talk about the most woke Pixar film. Yeah, I don't know that they thought that deeply about it. They need fear and division between these two, you know, the family of rats and everyone else. So it's a fairly straightforward scene to write in order to keep things moving along and create some tension within the main character. And he's torn between these two worlds, the world he arguably doesn't belong in, and the one that he, you know, do you stay in your lane or do you branch out and do a thing that you love? Which is fairly universal, I'd say, and relatable, no matter what your species is.
I'll just go and find a rat, see what they think.
I'll just text one. Hang on. What do you think about Ratatouille? All right, I've got bubbles. I think that's a fair insight into the intentions of the filmmakers, but I don't credit them with that much.
No, I mean, I could be looking into it too much.
It's very 2025.
What my perception of it?
Yep.
Ah, interesting. Probably.
Which is allowed.
But then I guess it's allowed because that's kind of the concept of the podcast. But I think all Disney films have a moral. Anything, other themes or commentary?
I don't think so. I don't know that I'm best equipped to pull the themes out of the back of a the back of a Pixar animation.
Back of a rat.
Yeah. Like I say, I think that the believe in yourself, be determined sort of message was threaded quite well throughout all of this. I don't know that it went further than that.
What aspects did you like the most then, Tay?
Well, like I say, this is a boring answer, but I liked just how visually engaging this film is. It's
beautiful.
Pretty extraordinary. The amount, beautiful, but also just the way it moves. It just zips along. Visually, it zips along, and is pretty stunning. To say that this stuff is not, and you know, this stuff is expensive. To say that this doesn't require this, you know, as much work as like an actual physical film is kind of silly.
Yeah,
it's better than that, obviously, because it's an animation. There's fewer physical constraints, but you know, they rack up to being the costing a lot. So yeah, I really loved the visual stuff. There is some genuinely funny moments. The critic moment always makes me laugh. The characterization of him and his house and everything, that's always pretty funny.
Yeah, excellent. There are some brilliantly hilarious scenes. I actually was watching this on the train and I laughed out loud at the bit, where all the rats are in the kitchen and they're stealing food towards the end, and Linguini comes in and Remy's brother he's like hiding behind some asparagus next to a bunch of grapes, and he's like taking one up with his mouth, and as the scene goes on he keeps taking grapes, and by the end his whole tummy is like the shape of a bunch of grapes, and then he falls off the thing and he just shoots loads of grapes at Linguini. Oh, that really made me laugh a lot. Really, properly laughed out loud. Other things I loved were, for sure, the sort of the characterizations, they're very stereotyped, but I love them. They're, classic kids films, just really easy to understand each person in the film. And I thought the sweet little montage where Remy and Linguini are just being super successful in the kitchen, and they get their house, and him and Linguini and Colette's relationship develops, and you see the little bedroom for Remy looking out to the Eiffel Tower, and it's just very sweet. Loved that. And I did actually really like the depiction of France and Paris, because it's not set in 2007, is it? It's set in the past. Like the TV is like an old black and white TV with knobs, and the cars are really old. So it's that kind of almost like French New Wave vibe of kind of old cars and very romantic. Loved that. So yeah, very nostalgic, very cutesy, nice little easy watch, cozy.
Yeah, definitely. This doesn't really ask anything of you. It gives you a lot more than it asks. Yeah, it's nice.
Anything you didn't like, Tay?
I felt the running time, but no, not really. We joked about the accents, and that is distracting once you start to notice it and start to think about it. And if you kind of, you can expand on that and go, well, this is a very Frenchified. I think it feels like they took a lot of inspiration from Amélie in that it's very heightened Paris, right? Just how exaggerated the setting feels. It's not bad. It's not a bad thing, but it is notable. And I feel like Amélie had played a part in that. But that's fine. Good. That's a good film to nod to.
I don't know if I can say there was anything I didn't like about this film.
Well, you'll just have to think of something.
Yeah, no, I didn't notice it was long, but I think that might be because I watched it in two halves, so that might have played a part.
That's cheating.
I know, but I had to watch it on my train journey. There wasn't really anything I didn't like. I loved it. I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. She went there already.
Gosh, blimey, okay. 10 out of 5. I think like when you talk about all that animation detail, that's where your $150 million is going. I love how in the zone animators, any creatives get really. Apparently there was they set up a vivarium containing pet rats outside the studio in a hallway, just so that animators could look at the way that look at the movement of animals' fur and noses and ears and paws and tails as they run around. Yeah, did you get a sense of that, Lucy?
Well, I thought the noses were comically big, but the running around, they did very much look lifelike.
Yeah, I mean, I was particularly impressed at that. I stopped it and then rewound it a few times and like, look at that.
Look at that rat moving. It's so lifelike.
That's $150 million right there.
It really is. What rating are you giving it, Tay?
I'm just looking on the BBC Movies site that I worked on, and they gave it 5 stars. So I feel like I would give it 4 stars, unless it's something like A No Country for Old Men. It's very hard to bust out the 5 stars. But I do hugely enjoy this. There's very little to criticise, so well-meaning 4.5.
Well, the awards beg to differ, Tay. It actually won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature in 2008. It was nominated for a massive handful of awards. It won the BAFTA for Best Animated Film, the Golden Globe. There was even a Grammy nomination for Michael Giacchino's French-inspired score. So, yeah, they clearly given it 5 out of 5, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was the 6th highest grossing film of 2007.
6th highest grossing? That's actually impressive for it.
It made over $500 million.
That's so many dollars.
It's a lot of dollars.
So many dollars. Ooh, fun fact. Do you want to do some fun facts?
Sure, hit me.
Each rat's fur had about 1.15 million individual hairs simulated to move naturally. Whoa. That's amazing. So if that was on the rat on Ratatouille in 2007, imagine what they did with the hairs in Moana, which was 2017?
Yeah.
I actually watched a documentary years ago about how Disney and Pixar like iterate software and design ideas and tools to make the animation look more realistic and also to like save them time. And so like more recently they use fractals, which are infinitely complex geometric shapes that are self-similar across different scales. So it means you can like create lots of similar but different and therefore naturalistic shapes and patterns and movement within a scene without having to like repeat stuff and or make it look super unnatural. And so you can have like definition of bark, hair, animals moving that look similar but different. So it's actually really, really cool. And it kind of started off with The Lion King, which didn't use fractals, but what it did do was most of the film was animated, but they started to insert different bits of CGI. So famously, the wildebeest stampede scene, whilst it doesn't use fractals, they wanted it to look really frantic and not just like the same animals coming over and over again and looking really repetitive. So if you can remember in that film, they're coming from all over. Some jump here, some are moving here, some are bigger than others, some are smaller, making different facial expressions. So that bit was actually using CGI, quite early CGI, and it involved crowd simulation software, but not algorithms. But yeah, that was like one of their earlier things of trying to kind of make something look natural within the animation. It just evolves from there on in. So it's like, yeah, it's quite cool because, yeah, like the different necessities of software and design that come about from here. And then, of course, it then influences the rest of design. And obviously now we've got AI that can just do it like that. But had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, that's not nerdy.
It's quite nerdy.
Okay, it was nerdy. It's nerdy.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a nerdy podcast. It's about films.
So basically, there was nothing you didn't like.
I loved it. I give it 5 out of 5.
Well, that's entirely fair, I think. I had a couple of things I wanted to add. I like how it's clearly resonated. You know, since 2007, it's been referenced in lots of different shows. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. There's a funny little bit in an episode of The Simpsons where Homer goes into the kitchen and there's rats everywhere, and one of the rats just pulls on his like 3 hairs on his head and starts to manipulate him. There's a funny Key and Peele sketch where one of them has just got like a regular looking rat who makes him a sandwich, and his friend is like disgusted with this idea that that the film Ratatouille doesn't justify someone having a rat just be their sort of preparer of meals. So that's quite funny. I think the most notable reference is in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Ratatouille,
yeah.
Which is hilarious. The origins of that, which is that was one of the directors, that was his dad misremembering the film Ratatouille. That becoming a major subplot in the film is really funny. So
yeah.
in one of her sort of life variations, Michelle Yeoh's character is a teppanyaki chef with a guy who is being operated by a raccoon under his hat, and she rats him out.
She rats him out.
Yeah. Thanks. And that is amazing. That and the dildos are the bits that I most remember about Everything Everywhere All at Once. So props.
I loved that film. I made my mum watch it. She hated it. She found it. I feel like it's quite a divisive film. I actually really want to watch it again. When I watched that, I hadn't been as blown away by a film for a very long time. It really stuck with me. Think about it a lot, actually. That and the Midnight Library novel by Matt Haig, that kind of idea of all the different lives you could live and ultimately having to learn to be satisfied with the one that you've got. It's great.
By the time I got to it, it had, a huge amount of hype behind it, and it always makes me wary. But it's an extraordinary film, but also it's so jammed full of stuff that it's hard to remember it all. It's just absolutely rammed. But yeah, super fun.
Yeah, because there's loads of like, maybe this doesn't happen more than once, but there's one bit where there's just like loads of different faces just flash onto the screen, and they've all got amazing hair and makeup, and it's supposed to be all different people in different universes. Like that alone was a lot. And that's just one tiny, like you say, element of the whole film. Like the costumes, the ideas, it's just unfathomable. I love that film. But alas, it's not from 2007. Anything else that you'd like to add, Tay?
No, I think we've covered it. Go watch it if it's been a while since you've seen it, or if you've never seen it. It's worth your time.
It is. It really is, and I recommend watching it on the train and having a laugh.
Oh my God! Don't watch Everything Everywhere All at Once on a train or a plane.
No. Yeah, definitely not. If the dildos is the bit that you remember the most from that film, don't know what that says about you.
I don't know. Let's not. Lucy, Ratatouille, we did it.
We did it.
Folks, thanks for bearing with us while we worked our way through this absolute joy of a film. It's a solid watch. Even the French liked it. Right. Night-night.
Bye.
Night, everyone.